Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first podcast episode of the Hockey Talk Podcast. I'm Daniel Imola, and today we'll be talking about how the NHL is back. Here we go.
You're listening to the Hockey Talk Podcast with Daniel Imola.
So, recently the NHL has announced that it will come back from and resume play today. And resume play later on. And I'm actually kind of excited about that because I've been waiting for some hockey for some time now. I know we all been. But yeah, recently last week, or a couple of weeks ago now actually, the NHL has announced that it will be resuming play. And once the pandemic has calmed down a little bit, the full play, however, won't be the full return to play. However, won't be starting until I think it said I think Bettman said near the end of July to August. But anyways, nevertheless, the NHL is coming back, and I'm happy about that, and I know that all you guys are happy about that as well. And on my phone right now in front of me, I got the 2014 playoff format. And today I'm just gonna go on and talk about how I think each team from the five are going. Each team from both the Eastern and Western Conference are going to do, and I'm just gonna talk about how they're gonna do and who I think is gonna go forward and who I think is gonna be eliminated. So let me get to this. So I'll put the picture up. So let me announce from the Eastern side first. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Montreal Canadiens. And then we also have the New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers, a little rematch there. That's interesting. And the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. All right, so to start off, I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets is going to be a good series. I honestly think that they got both teams got skill and they got the talent. You got Austin Matthews on one end, and then you got basically a really good, strong offensive Columbus team. They got Torts as their coach. He used to coach Vancouver. Didn't really turn out well here, in my opinion. I don't think it really turned out well. Torts, he's head coach of Columbus, and and they eliminated it. And just remember this: they eliminated the top team. That was Tampa Bay Lightning, the top team last year in the standings in the first round, 4 straight, just completely four in a row, 4 games in a row. Boom, that's it. Tampa Bay was out. The best team in the league last year in the standings during the regular season. The best team in the league. So I think that Toronto. It's up against some tough competition, and I think that Columbus in this event here will resume and will go forward and knock out Toronto. But if Toronto wins, they verse Boston next. We all know how the Boston Toronto series go. They go to Game 7, and then all of a sudden Toronto just loses and they lose, and everybody's sad again, and all that stuff. But anyways, one of my favorite matches now is the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens. I watched a series, I can't remember how old I was, when the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens play against each other. It was a few years ago actually now. But it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great that the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Montreal Canadiens are back at it again. And it's gonna be one of the fun series to watch. One of the fun series to watch. In the round robin here, it's gonna be awesome. Honestly, my opinion. You know what? I think Montreal got this one. Not because Montreal. I'm not saying that because Montreal is my favorite team or my second favorite team. Pardon me. To connect to my most favorite team. And we're gonna get to Canucks soon. But anyways, but I think that Montreal started off slow this season, before the NHL paused, and they were trying desperately to crawl back. And honestly, I think that with this break that they had since they paused because of the pandemic, I think Montreal they're gonna pull their laces together and pull their boots together or their skates together, however you want to say it, and they're gonna go on the ice and kick some butts. I think they're gonna kick some butts, and I think Pittsburgh might underestimate how strong Montreal is, especially considering how much Montreal wants to win. In my opinion, I think Montreal will eventually come up on top on Pittsburgh and go and move on into the actual playoff. So next we have the New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers. And you heard me under my breath before saying that it's a rematch. You heard that, right? Well, it is a rematch actually. The New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers. It's a rematch, but Luongo won't be in this one. And New York Islanders took that first match back a couple of years ago when they played each other, when Florida and Islanders played each other in NHL playoffs. And but you know what? This series, I think I don't think the Rats there in Florida are gonna be falling down that much because I think the Islanders are gonna take it. I think they're gonna take it. Yeah, I really think so. I really think they're gonna take it, and they're gonna move on and play Washington, I believe. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that the New York Islanders are gonna eventually take that one. I don't think the Florida Panthers have a chance, unless it goes to Game 7. If it goes to Game 7, maybe Florida Panthers might be pumped up enough to actually win the series. You never know. We've seen strange things in the league throughout history. You just don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, you just do not know at all. And so it would take me by huge surprise if the Florida Panthers actually beat the New York Islanders. Because the New York Islanders, they were dominating the league before the NHL pause. They were just crushing it. And the Florida Panthers were just kind of begging to be back in the playoffs again. But they made it, but they're not there yet. So I wish good luck to Florida. Honestly, I wish good luck to Florida, and I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, Islanders are going to take that series. Moving on, we have the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers, and this one, we got because New York, they were starting to come together near the end of the season there, and right before the pause, they were starting to come together. But I think that you know what? I actually think New York has a chance. If New York pulled up their laces on the skates, and actually work hard and all that jazz, I think New York actually has a chance. I know they were a really good team in the regular season, but you know what? Playoffs a whole new season. Same with the Florida Panthers. Going back to the Florida Panthers and New York Islanders, playoffs, when it comes to desperation, it's a whole new season. So yeah. So honestly, I think Carolina, they dominated. I mean, they were pretty good. They were pretty damn good. Honestly, I watched a couple of their games, especially against Washington when they beat the Washington Capitals pretty badly in the regular season. But I think the New York, being desperate as they are, will actually take the series. I honestly think. I know. Oh, that was series. Sorry about that. But I know that Carolina had a great season and everything, but I honestly think that New York is going to come on top on that one and move on to versus Philadelphia. All right, so I'm going to put the picture back up on the screen now so y'all can see. And on the West, we got the Calgary Flames, the Winnipeg Jets, the Edmonton Oilers, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Minnesota Wild, and the Nashville Predators, and the Arizona Coyotes, the Yotes. All right, so let's start off with the first one here, and that is Calgary and Winnipeg. Honestly, that's going to be one heck of a series. I think that Calgary and Winnipeg is going to be so much fun to watch. It's like watching Calgary and Edmonton, the Battle of Alberta, face off. Like, it's awesome, and it's a two Canadian team matchup as well. So that and it's gonna be awesome. I have a feeling it's gonna be awesome. Like Gaudreau and Giordano and then we got Shifley and all those players on Connor, all those players on Winnipeg, just gonna battle against each other. I think it's gonna be great. Honestly, I think it's just gonna be great. Who in my position will who do I think, in my opinion, will come up on top? I think it would be honestly. I think it would be Winnipeg. I think it would be the Jets. Honestly, I think they have the courage and the desperation to be back in the playoffs again. I think it's gonna be the Jets, and they were good all season. They beat the Canucks pretty badly in the regular season. So I know that's the regular season. I know it said that the playoffs is a whole new other level. But honestly, I think that the Winnipeg Jets are going to take this one. Unfortunately, the Calgary Flames won't move on and play and in the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't really think that's going to happen. I know a lot of people have been actually predicting that this is the year where Calgary and Tampa Bay are going to be in the final. And it's going to be a rematch of the 2004 playoffs, I believe it was. Can't remember what it was. But I honestly think that that's not going to happen. I honestly think that Winnipeg is going to take this one by I'm gonna say, what am I gonna say? It's gonna be I think it's gonna be I want to say it's gonna be game. It's gonna go to a game 6. Yeah, it's gonna be a game 6. That and Winnipeg's gonna take him. That's not gonna go to a game 7. No way. If it does, that would be the most intense series ever to watch. At that time, of course. But yeah, I think it's just gonna go to a game 6 and Winnipeg and take game 6 and win the series and everything like that. So yeah, next we have the Chicago Blackhawks and the Edmonton Oilers. Chicago Blackhawks, are you kidding me? They started off the season really not so good. They started to climb in near the end of the season, which is the reason why they're here actually, because it started to lighten up a little bit and actually do something and score some goals and win some games and all that stuff. But the Edmonton Oilers, they've been rocking it all season long. Like honestly, you got McDavid, Cassian, the list goes on. Like you got everybody on that team that is a dynamite and as a dynamite player and a lot of good chemistry on that team. Especially Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Like those two are the chemistry those two have is unbelievable, and they show it every single game. And honestly, I know that Chicago has Kane and Taves and DeBrincat, I think they still have. Anyways, but honestly, I think Edmonton's gonna take this one. I think Edmonton's gonna go on. I think it's the year that the Canadian teams are going to go, that a Canadian team is going to go to the Stanley Cup final. My prediction, I think a Canadian team is going to go to the Stanley Cup final. There's just too many of them in here. We got Calgary, Winnipeg, Canucks, Oilers, Montreal, Toronto. It's going to be a year where a Canadian team at least gets to the conference final, at least gets to that stage of almost winning the President's Trophy, if not going to the actual final and winning the Stanley Cup. I honestly think it's gonna happen. I think a Canadian team's gonna win the cup this year. And now we go to this, but I don't know about this Canadian team winning the cup. I have a stronger bet on either Edmonton or like Winnipeg winning the Stanley Cup. I don't really think we got the Canucks in Minnesota Wild here, and I've been talking to some people and I've been saying like I don't know. I think it's a good matchup, Canucks and Wild and everything. I mean, two good young teams. You got Stahl and on the Minnesota side, and you got the Patterson, Brock Besser, JT Miller. What a year he had, and Jake Virtanen and all that. You got all these young players with good chemistry, especially Besser and Pedersen. And I honestly think that maybe the Canucks might actually do something here. Maybe they actually might do something. Pedersen and Besser are two good dynamite players, and they might override the Minnesota Wild, like Stahl and Parise and all those people, players on that team. So I honestly think that the Canucks are actually going to move on, but I think they're going to move on. That's the only time they're going to move on. I don't think, who would they have played next? Well, Dallas. Yeah, I don't think the Canucks will play. Is it Dallas? I can't remember if it's Dallas or is it. It's either Vegas or Dallas. But anyways, the Canucks, if they move on, if they actually beat Minnesota, which I think they would be playing, then they would be playing Vegas or Dallas. I think I can't remember which one now. But yeah. But that's as far as the Canucks are gonna go. I don't think they're gonna go to the conference final or whatever, or the Stanley Cup final or whatever. Unfortunately, I don't think the Canucks here this year. I mean, there's always next year. We as Canucks fans, we always say that always next year. So I think that the Canucks are gonna win against Minnesota, but they're gonna also stop right in the first round. I honestly think so. That's it. That's as far as they're gonna go for first round. That's it. And then we got, in my opinion here, finally, the Nashville Predators and the Coyote, the Yotes. And if I thought that the Canucks was gonna be, and Canucks and Minnesota might be like a little boring match, well, here's a boring match for you, in my opinion. You got the Nashville Predators and the Coyotes. Okay, so let's talk about this. The Nashville Predators and the Arizona Coyote, the Yotes. Do you honestly think that it's going to get that much attention? Maybe on the Nashville fan base side, it will, because, hockey's kind of big in Nashville. But Arizona, there's like $22 for a ticket to sit up top, and like $27 to ticket to go sit at the bottom. That's like going to a Vancouver Giants game. It's equivalent to go see the Vancouver Giants play. It's like $20 or $30 or whatever. So in the Coyotes. So it's not. I know hockey's not big in Arizona. That's for sure. I know, because I guess football and basketball and all those sports, they all take over and everything. Nobody really likes hockey, I guess, down south in Arizona. But they only like it. They seem to only like it when Arizona actually goes to the playoffs. But honestly, Arizona, I know they actually been kicking some butts this year, but I mean, I think that most of the behind the scenes of the Arizona Coyotes, like what drives the players, is the fan base. And when they have really good fan base, Arizona, they tend to do they seem to do really well. But compared with when they don't have a really good fan base behind them supporting them, they just kind of flop off, and that's it, and fall off and go down the hole, and that's it. If in my opinion, that series there, I'm not gonna be watching it that much. I'd rather watch Montreal and Pittsburgh and Vancouver, my team obviously, play. And if the Coyotes and Nashville are on the same time as those teams, I won't be paying that much attention to it, unfortunately. I would just be watching all those other games like Pittsburgh, Montreal, Canucks, Minnesota, Columbus, Toronto. You know what? Actually, going back to Columbus and Toronto, if Toronto actually wins and they have to verse Boston, they have to go versus Boston. I wonder what will happen if the Leafs finally beat Boston in the first round of the playoffs after so many times of being kicked out by them. Oh, it's a rough series too. I don't know if you all watched it. I believe it was last playoffs or whatever, or the playoff before. It was a rough series. The Leafs and the Bruins, oh man, Kadri in that one. I know Kadri is traded now, but oh man, that was a series to watch. It was rough. It was rough for Toronto, and they lost again in Game 7. But yeah, you never know. You never know if Toronto beats Boston, what will happen? Will Leafs fan go insane, saying, "Oh, this is all year" and all that stuff? I don't know. I'm not a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I do not support them at all. Sorry for all the Maple Leafs fans who are watching this. I just support the Canucks the most, and then it's Habs, and then Pittsburgh, and that's basically it. I just think that if Toronto ends up. I just think that I wonder what will happen if the Toronto Maple Leafs actually move on from the first round against Boston and go forward into the playoffs. But that's we will have to wait and see. Only time will tell if that happens. But you never know. Like I said before in this video or in this podcast, the playoffs are a whole different season. It's a whole different season. You never know just what might happen. You never know. To end this podcast off, thank you all for watching so much. I just want to say this. A podcast. So the Hockey Talk podcast. Each podcast episode will be released on YouTube and on iTunes. I'm going to try to do it every Friday. But if I can't, it would be probably the Friday after or whatever. But I'm gonna try. For now, I'm just gonna try to do it every Friday. So right now, the Hockey Talk podcast, every podcast episode will be released on both YouTube and iTunes on every Friday of the week. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy them. And to end this off, honestly, if you were to ask me my prediction of who's going to win the Cup this year, and I know I said I think a Canadian team's going to win the Cup this year, I honestly think, though, I mean, as much as I want a Canadian team, I want to see a Canadian team hoist a Stanley Cup. No Canadian team. The last Canadian team to hoist Stanley Cup was Montreal, 1984 or something like that. I don't even know. I can't remember. I got Google search. Let me Google. Oh, I knocked my mic again. Let me actually Google search it. Last team. Let's see here. Montreal. Last time Montreal. I think it was in the late '80s. Was it? Oh no, sorry, it was in the early 90s. It was 1992 against LA, right? I think it was against Los Angeles. I can't remember. I think it was Los Angeles though. But yeah. But anyway, yeah. So if you're asking me who I think can win the Stanley Cup this year, I think that it's either going to be Montreal, or you know what? I think it's going to be defending Stanley Cup champs who are champions right now already, and that's the St. Louis Blues. I think they might win it 2 years in a row. I don't know. Maybe Pittsburgh might even win it. You never know. Maybe Pittsburgh might win it again. You never know. Because I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of potential here with underdogs teams. You know, like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. Who else? Arizona, maybe. You never know. Like I said, and many times in this podcast, that playoffs is a whole different season. But yeah, you never know. Florida Panthers. What if the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup? Will it change the hockey culture down in the South forever? Will everybody start going to see more and more games down south, so that the teams down south make more money? You never know. But that is extremely unlikely. But also, you never know. But to end this off, honestly, my overall prediction of who's going to win the Stanley Cup, I believe it's St. Louis Blues. I believe they're going to take it all the way again and win a back-to-back Stanley Cup. I honestly think so. They got Pietrangelo, they got O'Reilly, they got everyone there to do that. So, that is my prediction. And, that's my prediction of St. Louis winning Stanley Cup. And maybe Pittsburgh might win. You never know, too. But overall, I think St. Louis will win. If not, then Pittsburgh or some other underdog team, or maybe Tampa Bay or Boston or whatever. But overall, if it's not Pittsburgh, overall, I think it's going to be St. Louis. I think it's going to be St. Louis winning the Cup this year for the second time in a row. But anyways, yeah, this has been the first episode of the Hockey Talk podcast with Daniel Imola. And thank you all for tuning in. And I'll see you next week. See everybody. Peace.